Today's TrueFire artist spotlight is Keb Mo. Keb has won 5 Grammys, 14 Blues Foundation Awards, and has had a groundbreaking career spanning nearly 50 years. A passionate philanthropist and outspoken activist, Keb has devoted countless hours and helped raise hundreds of thousands of dollars in support of social, environmental, and racial justice throughout his career. Today, we'd like to feature 3 free lessons from Keb Mo's Americana roots origin, progression, and evolution.
My heart is aching, and all my dreams have gone.
Chords to me are a building block of theory and a building block of scales and keys and how you use these chords. But I like to go to the basic thing about chords is one of the first chords you learn on guitar is the G chord. And the first time you learn it like this. That one. And that's the G. That has a third in it, 2/3, right there. So in case you know what a third is the one. That's the third. 1, 2, 3, G, A, B. So that's the chord. So, but then you learn how to play it without the thirds in it, which is the big G, the big nondescript G. That's the cool G. You know, the cool G. Then there's this G with the third in the bass, and there's the key with the G7. There's the G7 sus. Then there's the third position G. Then there's the G that's just, without the strings, and then there's this G right here. Anyway, you can do a lot of stuff with the G chord, and picking the right G chord in the situation is a kind of a big deal. Then there's the G major 7, G major 6, 9, G minor 11, there's all these chords and knowing where to put them and when to use them. They're like a two, but one's like a wrench, those like a screwdriver, and then one's like a hammer, so they're all tools in your toolbox. So let's talk about the C chord, and we're talking about the open G, 1, 4, 5 of the guitar. Which is sometimes what you learn first. So the C chord, this is the basic one here. That's a beautiful chord. You learn that, and you learn how to not get your fingers caught and make them all clear. And once you get past that point, you kind of start thinking you're a guitar player. And then there's this C. We have that one. Then there's the C that's just like a more C with an add 2 in there. Then there's C, the barred C right there. And all of them have their specific use. They're tools. Okay, so that's a couple of C's. C major 7, C minor 7, C minor 7, C minor. Okay, and so just touching on all these things, the 4 chords. And then there's the D. The D chord. There's the one you learn, first one out the book. Then all of a sudden you take your finger off there. Oh, that sounds good. Then you can put it back in. Yeah, then there's this one. Oh, shit, 3 chords. Yeah. And that's a whole little universe right there now. Seven, yeah. Back to that. Yeah. So then you got the G, which is a great chord for guitar because you got a nice open G string, D string right there. You can ring it all over the place. And then that's for the G. So that's a G, C, and a G. 1, 4, 5. All right. Then you're talking about cousins of the relatives of the one chord. Its cousin, the 6th chord, which is the E minor. Almost the same chord, but not quite. Then there's the 2. The 4 chord, which is the C. The cousin, which is the A minor. A minor 7. Very different chords. Subtly different. So that gets into how you use your chords, how you use them in different situations. So basic chords I love a whole lot because that is the foundation of the guitar and how you can look at it and start to play music very early on. Like all students I've had, when I've had students, private students, I've had probably 2 in my lifetime, I always start them out in the key of C, then C, there. Then their first assignment is to go write a song with those 3 chords, and then you're in the game. So using what you know is a big deal with me. You use what you know. If you know 3 chords, and that's all you know, you can do a whole lot with that. So never have to feel like, oh, I wish I knew more. We all wish we knew more. You know, even Tommy Emmanuel probably wish he knows more. And he knows about everything it is to do with the guitar that is. But if you know a lot about the guitar and you don't know what to do with it, it's like having a big toolbox and you can't even, you can't build a with some kind of chair or something because you got all the tools but you don't know what to do with them, and the guitar is the same way. So if you got a few tools, you can do a lot, and with the basic chords. So I love basic chords. I know a few of the fancy ones, but basically the simple ones, what do you call them, the cheap chords, are the ones I like the best. All right, let me talk a little bit about the musical journey of my life, whereas, of course, music for me started at church, where my mother insisted that I go every Sunday, whether I liked to or not. There was no not going to church. And it builds kind of like a spiritual foundation for you in your life, wherever you're going, everything from an atheist to a Hindu or Buddhist or whatever, Muslim or whatever thing you choose to acknowledge. But it's about acknowledging something that is more profound or as profound of yourself that you're a part of. And my musical thing, when you get in the church, you understand that because that's what it's about. So when I'm playing music, I'm always looking to serve. I'm looking at my music like, what purpose does this serve? Can somebody get their head wrapped around this and their heart wrapped around this? Is this going to do any good out there? And I put all that first because the people in the church didn't put that first. They just sung for the Spirit, and that was like that. So I think singing for someone as opposed to about or playing for the good of the world, in your music. I think that work is a very good job to have. And I'm not religious. I don't go to church or anything like that. I'm just very cognizant of everything I do. So there's a song like, The Door. There's a lot of spiritual things and influence, and also Caribbean influence in my music. And the blues and gospel, very much a part of my growing up, as was Motown, R&B, Jimi Hendrix, and everything that came by me, kind of put a little mark on me, and I draw from all of that. But having a purpose in your music is very, very important, even if you're just playing it for your friends, or just playing it on the weekends, or you want to be play with Taylor Swift or something. I like the Taylor Swift gig. If I can get an audition for that gig, I'll take it and just call my website, and I'll be opening an audition for that gig. So I think music as a purpose is vitally important. That's why I'm taking out this time just to talk about that a little bit. Often we talk about the notes that we play in music, but I like to talk about, what's under the notes that you're playing and why are you playing those notes, So that is crucial, because at the end of the day, music is for healing for the player and for all who listen to it. And everything you play affects the whole world. Even if they don't hear it with their ears, they will hear it with their hearts. And you will have a profound effect on the world. It doesn't matter how good you are or how professional or how whatever, it's the same thing. No one's music is any better than anyone else's music. It's all just sound And what you put under it is the big deal. All right, that's enough of that. Any more questions? I want to talk about this guitar and some of the other guitars I'm playing. This is, of course, a Martin, made by the C.F. Martin Company. It's a company that's been in business for over a century, making guitars. And this is I think the 0018. And I have the medium strings on this for playing slide on it. And usually you play slide on a real junky guitar you don't like that much, because it's kind of like it doesn't matter. But this is a very fine instrument that really deserves to have the lights on there and a strumming finger picking thing. It's a fine instrument made by Martin Guitars, and I cherish it very much. It does the trick. And having guitars that have been the instruments that carry the tradition on for years and years and years, these brands like Martin and Gibson and the new companies like Paul Reed Smith, who are bringing forth the tradition and supplying the tools that we need to make this music that we make. Remember, there's people in factories putting the frets in with the sandpaper and saws, and they're making these instruments. A lot of people make them. When you go to visit the factory, you really see how much care goes into these instruments, and the finish, the bindings, the tuning machines. It's a lot of people, and I like to thank all those folks that make guitars and make instruments so that we can have things to play. This is a Paul Reed Smith. Paul Reed Smith is a very fine luthier guitar maker. He's been very successful, but I know him personally. And when he makes a guitar, every guitar that goes out of that place has his approval on it. He's a very intense guy. He's very proud, and he's a trusted guy when it comes to making guitar because his name is on the guitar. He's a living guitar maker. He's a living guy. So something about having a guitar. It's like having a Fender that was made when Fender was alive, when Leo was there, because Leo was there, and he put his energy in all those instruments. So Paul Reed Smith. Music is very important. You hear music everywhere you go. You hear music in the stores, music behind the movies. Everything, to commercials, everything has music in it. Because music, church has music, everything has music. Music is important. It's the fabric, it's the sound, it's our sound that we put into the environment, like the birds that chirp and the dogs that bark and the hounds that howl, and they put this sound out there. Humans make a sound together. We make a magnificent sound, like crickets and things like that, all that stuff. So there's also countless luthiers, people who make guitars, who make fine instruments. Maybe they're not as famous as Martin or Gibson or these people, but nonetheless, they're making fine instruments. And we are just as grateful to those players and those luthiers and guitar makers we are the big guys, because they kind of keep the big guys honest. This is a Gibson 335, which I own, and it's very in the classic cherry red, and it's a guitar that was played by a lot of folks, and I think the one person that made this guitar famous was probably Larry Carlton. It's Mr. 335. It's probably the most useful guitar, in the world, ever made. Yeah, so anyway, 335 by Gibson Company. Now, Mr. Gibson is long gone, but the people of Gibson, they work hard to keep the Gibson name in the forefront, because Gibson is also very important part of musical history, because a lot of people play Gibson, people preserve them, and they're making them every day. So all these companies, I just want to give a big thank you to the smallest company, the guy that makes maybe like 2 guitars a year, to Paul Reed Smith, who makes probably who knows how many guitars that dude makes a year. But these instruments go out and they get in the hands of people like you who want to play music and want to do it, and you're necessary. Don't never think that what you're playing is not necessary. And even if you're not famous, and because everyone's not going to be famous, So, but if you're playing music, you're putting sound and energy out into the ether that counts, that factors into the collective consciousness of happiness and good joy for the planet. So every note counts. Just remember that. The notes you play count. So play good notes, make yourself happy, make other people around you happy, and play your guitar, play your fiddles, play your trumpets, play your saxophones, whatever you play. Sing if you don't have an instrument. You dance with joy, and all this stuff matters. So I'm so glad to be here to talk to you about music and to share music with you, because I feel so grateful to be a part of it. So thank you very much, and I said what I needed to say. Thank you.